The end of 2023 is just around the corner. So let's take a minute and talk about the best bourbons of the year so far. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, as tends to happen at this time of the year as we get into later fall and beginning of winter, things seem to speed up and the end of the year just comes in a rush. There's still plenty of great bourbon to be found on shelves, to be released, and all the allocated, hunting season, it's just in full force right now. But in the midst of all of that, I wanted to pause and kind of think through some of the best bourbons of 2023 so far. So I put together my list. It's a mix of, more affordable, accessible releases from the year, but then some of the more special things that have been released for sure. If you ask me though, this has been a pretty solid year for the bourbon consumer, and it's been a year that my personal collection has grown quite a bit. So excited to dive in, and I do think this will be a little preview of what you can expect to see in my Whiskey of the Year bracket toward the end of the year, though I am still hoping to collect a few key bottles. In the meantime though, let's dive in. Without further ado, let's just jump into the list, some of the best bourbons of 2023. We'll start out with the most accessible, affordable release on the list, and from a distillery that I just think is killing it, and I couldn't be more impressed, and that is Bardstown's Origin Series Bottled in Bond Wheated Bourbon. For me, this black label, the wheated bourbon, is the standout, but they did release the full lineup of the white label, which is just their high rye bourbon. Then they've got the wheated black label, and then the green label is the rye, which is finished in some sort of cherry wood experience, which is really, really solid as well. But for around $50, my money is on this one. It is phenomenal. Wheat sweetness, bready, pastries, dark fruits, rich experience. It's one of the better mid-tier affordable releases that I can remember in my whole whiskey hunting journey. Like, it's just phenomenal. They waited until it was 6 years old to release it, and it's just one of those everyday drinkers that I will consistently have in my hutch. As soon as this one's gone, I am buying another one because it's really very, very good stuff. All right, next on the list gets us into this realm of classic annual releases where there's multiple batches coming out a year. Some batches are standouts, and that is the case with this one, and that is Booker's Charlie's batch. So for me, shift this over so you can keep seeing me. For me, Booker's is sometimes a little too hot. My experience tasting some at bars, and then I do have Pinky's batch as well from last year, which I think is pretty solid. But I've been able to taste a good amount of them, and they can be a little bit hit or miss. Charlie's batch, absolute hit. First release of 2023, came out strong. From what I've seen, I haven't seen many of the other batches at all hit shelves around me, so I haven't been able to try anything else from 2023. But from what I've seen, the reviews continue to come in that Charlie's batch is the best of the year. So glad I got this one. It's rich, it's creamy, it's peanut buttery, it's just well balanced and full force Booker's the way you want it. Okay, next on the list is actually one of the most recent pickups that I've had for the channel, at least as the filming of this is going on, and it's really, really good. It's a little bit harder to find. It's been spotty, and the hype's been high, but it's really, really good. And that is Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Rye. So this is one that had a limited release in 2020. They did a special barrel proof rye release that some people had as their best whiskey of all of 2020. This then comes out, hits shelves. It starts to be a little bit more not easy to find. It's certainly still spotty, but it's supposed to hit shelves and continue to kind of come out and be more accessible. For now, it's a little bit harder to find. I was able to pick one up and just tasted it recently, and it is really, really good stuff. Not a disappointment at all for around $70. I never tasted the special release from 2020, but for my money, this is well worth the purchase and a really, really good, hopefully more accessible release going forward, and I certainly think it's in my top whiskeys of the year so far. Next on the list is kind of a 2-for-1. These two are like big brother and little brother. You know them from the channel if you've been watching for a little while. These are some of my favorite annual releases. And those are going to be Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch C923 and Larceny Barrel Proof Batch B523. So as of the filming, I have yet to pick up the last batch of the Larceny, the C923. Hasn't really hit the area around me. I think it's a little bit delayed maybe, but want it desperately so that I can complete the full lineup for both, because I have all 3 Elijah Craigs and I have the first 2 releases of the Larceny. And for me, these are both great. The C923 from Elijah Craig is phenomenal. It's one of the best batches, one of the best bourbons I've ever had, period. B523 from Larceny is really, really good. Do want to shout out A123 batch from Elijah Craig, also really, really good. So for me, like, I wanted to highlight the Larceny, but honestly, Elijah Craig is kind of kicking butt this year, and that's a good thing because recently I've been liking the Larcenys overall more than Elijah Craig, but Elijah Craig's come out swinging this year, so really excited by that. All right, I shifted things down a little bit to make room for our last 2 bottles. These are definitely stepping it up into the highly allocated, hard to find realm. So just before we reveal those, do want to say, if you're enjoying all the content coming out of the channel, we'd love to have you aboard as a subscriber for the rest of 2023 and beyond. But specifically in 2023, we're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, would highly appreciate it. And then while you're at it, hit the like button. That's what helps get the video out the most. And comment down below. What are your best whiskeys of 2023 so far? What's the best thing you've tasted in particular? I want to know that. What's the best thing you've tasted this year? All right, everybody. Let's dive into these last 2 bottles. The next one is a little bit controversial because of the price point. But when you strip away the price point and you just think about what the whiskey is and how good it is, it certainly deserves to be on this list. And that is Wild Turkey Master's Keep Voyage. So for me, this Voyage is the first Wild Turkey Master's Keep that I've ever been able to even see, let alone get my hands on. Price point went way up this year on these for, I think, $275 MSRP. I paid a little less than that, around $250. This is the best rum finished bourbon I've ever tasted. It's 10 years old. It's perfectly balanced. It's well blended. I appreciate the art of the blending that's gone on here and the balancing act. When it comes to price point, is it worth that much? I think that just depends on you and what you're willing to spend for your collection. For me, it was worth it because I've never had a Master's Keep. But if you have multiple Master's Keeps and you like them and you've seen the series kind of go up and down in terms of consistency and ones you like, maybe this is one you pass on this year. But just, again, thinking about straight up what is the whiskey and how good is it, it certainly deserves to be on this list, and it's one of the best things I've tasted in all of 2023 for sure. All right, that gets us to our final bottle, which, if you ask me, is in the front runner, the driver's seat for best whiskey of the year, and is one that everybody's hunting, and that is Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. It's a beautiful, beautiful whiskey. When I reviewed it, that was kind of the word that came to mind the most. It's just beautiful. Maker's Mark at 12 years old, phenomenal. I mean, much better than the regular 6 to 7 year old release. And when you get it at cask strength around 115 proof, it's even turning all the dials of flavors up in the right way. It's really, really good stuff. One that I'm going to cherish for a long time. And word on the street is this is just the first of an annual release they're going to do. So if you haven't seen it this year, chances are you might see it next year or the year beyond that. And man, am I excited that Maker's Mark is going to do that, because it means every single year we're probably going to get another phenomenal release. All right, everybody, that's a quick rundown. That's the full list. These are the bottles that I am super excited to have that came out in 2023. They'll probably make an appearance in my Whiskey of the Year bracket. The Elijah Craig and the Larceny, I'm definitely going to do a tasting among their companions from the year and see which ones come out on top and then put those in the bracket. But so far, these are some of the best whiskeys of 2023, all the way from new releases that are affordable and always going to be on shelves to some of the most limited and special stuff that I've ever had in my collection. Again, want to hear it down below in the comments. What have you been tasting, and what is your favorite thing of 2023? Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey. Hope you find some phenomenal bottles this year, and cheers.